الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وآله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers, Islam, our religion, as we have talked previously, is being portrayed in a very bad way, and it is based on its history. When that precious history is being portrayed in a very bad way. Instead of diving deep into how are they portraying this, our history of ours, I am intending today to be speaking about a gemstone that is in our history. But before I begin, I would like to remind you of a word that came out from the great Eric Arthur Blair, who said that if you ever intend to obliterate a community, the best way, the most effective way to do that is to deny their history. Let's start. In 10th century, Ibn Fadlan, an ambassador of the Abbasid Caliphate, is traveling towards the Balkan region, and it is a history that is so much unknown to many of us, but it is a gemstone in our history. The thing is that he was traveling to meet the Vikings. We all know about the Vikings, but we never knew that the record of Vikings, the first ever recorded history of Vikings, was available in a very detailed way in the hands of Muslims. Ibn Fadlan is the only person who have recorded about these Vikings in such a very detailed way. And the thing is that on this travel, it was the first time the Arabians met the Turkic tribes, and once he reached the Vikings' land, he started to give them definitions, and he said that the Vikings were one of the filthiest creatures that he has ever met. And the story goes on like that, where he says about their daily routines, how they conduct their daily rituals, and the place where he defines them as people of filthiest creatures. He says that when a person wakes up in the morning, they bring up a servant, who's a female servant, brings a basin, and the chief leader of that tribe, that Viking land, washes his face and spits onto that basin, and the next person does the same into the same basin, and it goes on. And the same thing applies as to their living and their urination and such processes and everything. And that's where he describes them. That's why he describes them as the filthiest creatures. And when the story goes on like that, he also describes about one of the most scariest part in that detailed history. It was about how do they do, what kind of rituals do they have during their funeral activities. It is kind of sad to hear, and also creepy and scary, where it is said that when a man is died, a female is brought, a servant of that died man is brought and is killed just for the sake of this man. And all those rituals are so, kind of filled with complexity, so that some of the people couldn't even hear them. And I recommend everybody to study about that history and to know about that more. And the meeting of Turkic tribes, as I have mentioned before, it describes about the Prophet's miracle that happened there. The thing is that Arabs before that have never met the Turkic tribes, and when these times went on, Prophet Muhammad during his time, he prophesied that the Islamic religion would have a Turkic leader who would conquer the world, do not fight with them, and that shows that is a miracle of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and that is what you have to think a lot about. And I'm concluding my small speech here. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.